Mercedes just did exactly what F1 feared. So we're going to be going through that and 3 other stories in today's video. So make sure to like this video, and if you want more Mercedes news content like this, make sure to subscribe to the channel by hitting that red button down below. The first story is Mercedes discover crucial breakthrough ahead of W15 arrival in 2024. Mercedes have been pleased with the early life of their new floor and suggested what they learn in the final races of 2023 will be crucial to their plans for 2024. The Silver Arrows unveiled an update to the W14's floor in Austin, and while it has brought performance to this year's car, it is also a test run for 2024's W15. 2 races down, Mercedes have been pleased with results they have seen from the updated floor and believe the benefits will be seen next year. Encouraging signs for Mercedes after floor upgrade. Having been out of the title fight for 2 seasons now, Mercedes are determined to build a competitive car for 2024 and to that end have been working hard behind the scenes at Brackley. But while plenty of the work goes on behind doors, there are a few things that the public have been able to see, most notably the new floor, which included the leading edge being raised and reprofiling of the Venturi tunnel roof. Technical director James Allison is the man leading the design and has been pleased with what he has seen so far. Well, if we look at the performance in Austin, and we look at the performance here, being able to race cars like McLaren, Ferrari effectively, we'd say that the track data is definitely suggesting that we've made a forward step, he said, after Lewis Hamilton secured a podium in Mexico City. Now, bear in mind that all the top 2 teams have been bringing updates to the car over the last few races. It is crucial that you can match them on development, even better them to be able to continue to fight them on track. The other thing is we collect a lot of data off the car. So pressures off the floor, pressures off the wings, loads on the car, and all that data is correlating really well with what we're seeing in the wind tunnel. And that's crucial for next year, because this floor is actually a step towards the development direction that we want to take for 2024. So very encouraging signs, but still a lot of work ahead of us. While the original design of both the W13 and the W14 were flawed, Mercedes's plight was not helped by their data at the factory failing to match up to what was seen on track. It took until the Canadian Grand Prix earlier this year for the team to finally recalibrate their equipment. Mercedes technical director James Allison has accepted that his team were off the boil at the Brazilian Grand Prix and revealed where their weaknesses were across the weekend. The Silver Arrows W14 was hampered by a lack of pace and poor reliability at Interlagos, with George Russell retiring from the race while running 10th. Adding insult to injury, despite Charles Leclerc's retirement on the formation lap, Ferrari managed to score more points and close the margin between themselves and Mercedes for second in the Constructors' Championship. As a result, pressure will be building in Brackley, with 2 races remaining at high-speed circuits that play into their rivals' hands more. Speaking to the F1 Nation podcast, Allison shared what he believed were the reasons for a below-par performance. The main issue was hot rear tires, which would give you a snappier end and would give you the sort of tire degradation we saw, he said, but also an annoying amount of understeer. When you've got a balance that's all at sea like that, it's very easy to nibble away with every bit of throttle you put down, every turn of the wheel, a bit of the tires. The tires for everybody were tender here, and we got it in a place where a single lap was okay. Very quickly became more than mediocre as we gobbled our tires up, and that's normally a strength of ours, so particularly upsetting to weather that storm here. Mercedes will be thankful that the upcoming Las Vegas Grand Prix is being held at a relatively chilly time of year, with temperatures expected to be half that experienced during the race in Brazil. Indeed, the tire benefit provided could help the Silver Arrows who, alongside their competitors, will have to trim a significant amount of downforce to prepare for the long straights. The second story is Mercedes uncovers the annoying factor that led to Lewis Hamilton's agony in Brazil. Mercedes and Lewis Hamilton had one of the worst runs this season. Although they have seen themselves grapple to the end, the team has been able to turn the result around for themselves. The team won a podium last weekend at the Mexican Grand Prix. Although they had a tough weekend at Austin, the Silver Arrows team knew how to turn things around. Nonetheless, this weekend in Sao Paulo, Lewis Hamilton hoped for a great end to his home race. However, soon it turned into Mercedes' worst nightmare as they barely hung out in the midfield. While Hamilton got the team minimal points, George Russell was forced to retire mid-race. The team saw the race struggling to understand what went wrong. Only a weekend ago, the car was winning podiums, and only in a matter of 7 days, the car was down to P8. The car struggled with the pace, and Hamilton was heard complaining about the tires during the race. The sprint, too, saw a sad end to Mercedes' race as Hamilton got overtaken by Yuki Tsunoda in an AlphaTauri. When James Allison was asked about the car and how the issue manifested for Mercedes, he broke down the issues one by one. When on the F1 Nation podcast, he said, "The first issue was the hot rig tires that gave us the tire degradation that we saw and an annoying amount of understeer." He believes that the team will be working on the issue and try to understand what went wrong. For the next few days, Mercedes will have to do all it takes to bring back their team on top. Lewis Hamilton saw a horrible end to his Sao Paulo race. After winning the Brazilian citizenship, the driver hoped to give his second home race a good weekend. However, the Mercedes car saw an issue with the pace of the car. While McLaren, Ferrari, and Aston Martin left Mercedes in the back, the champion could not believe what had happened. When the Mercedes team radio was played, Hamilton laughed off the miseries he dealt with. Nonetheless, the team has put its best foot forward to bring the team back to the top. While they have seen failed attempts 2 years in a row while watching their biggest rivals, Red Bull, winning, they have plans to end the suffering. Lewis Hamilton talked about the car and the many issues he had to deal with. Apart from that, he has also had his 8th title on the line. Nonetheless, the driver has hoped for 2024 to be their year. "We have been working so hard this year, so to be back competing in the front, I would not be there without the amazing work of the team behind me. And it just feels great to see us progressing. We have struggled early on in the year. And also, I have started to have races that remind me of my past. You can see the fight is still there. You can see the hunger is still there. I can see the ability is still there, so we are moving forward with massive confidence. This year is the preparation year for the year," he added. While Lewis Hamilton awaits to see great results for himself, he also has his eye on his 8th title. The driver wishes to have the year and get his team a massive comeback. George Russell claims he endured a mind-boggling weekend in Sao Paulo, which he feels has left Mercedes facing so many question marks. Russell and teammate Lewis Hamilton were miserably off the pace in the sprint and Grand Prix at Interlagos, just a year after the younger Briton won both events, spearheading a 1-2 in the main race as the 7-time F1 champion finished runner-up. In the sprint on this occasion, Russell finished 25 seconds adrift in 4th behind winner Max Verstappen in his Red Bull, before retiring on Sunday due to rising temperatures in the power unit. Even prior to that, however, Russell was struggling whilst Hamilton drifted back through the field, finishing 8th and just over a minute behind Verstappen. Team principal Toto Wolff described the weekend personally as his worst in 13 years in the sport. "A mind-boggling weekend to understand," remarked Russell, who has only finished on the podium once this season in contrast to his 8 podium appearances last year, including the win in Brazil. "We had relatively high expectations coming into the weekend, but just absolutely no pace at all, and yet it's been the same car as the last 5 races, so clearly there was something wrong. And in a sprint race weekend, when you get it wrong, you can't make amends with those issues." Mercedes notably struggled with top speed, with the W14 amongst the slowest on the straights, which Russell concedes left him a sitting duck. Despite the team running more downforce, he added, "When you run more downforce, you're meant to gain the speed through the corners, keep the tires under control, and that wasn't the case, so we didn't have the benefit, we only had the negative." The third story is Toto Wolff, and Newey believes Mercedes remains hopeless until 2026. Mercedes have lost their way again at the end of 2023. Where Red Bull Racing keep moving ahead, the German team are sinking further and further into the quagmire. Adrian Newey gets it right. Mercedes have no chance of winning world title through to the conclusion of the 2025 season. Eddie Jordan revealed recently that Newey was very confident. "I was at a function the other night with Adrian Newey. We cycle a lot together in Cape Town. And Adrian tells me that he feels that the evolution of what they've got at the moment is going to be so difficult for anyone to catch up with. So please, folks out there, prepare yourself either for a boring time or an exciting time, depending on whether you're a Red Bull fan or not," the former team owner revealed. Meanwhile, it is starting to look more and more like Newey was right. Despite the regulations remaining the same in 2023, the gap between Red Bull and the competition is bigger than ever. Red Bull Racing already have more points than last year, 782 to 759, with 2 Grands Prix to go. The competition, on the other hand, is nowhere near last year's numbers. Mercedes still scored 515 points in 2022 and are now on 382 points. With only 88 points left to distribute, there is no catching up. Ferrari fell even further, from 554 points to 362 points. Mercedes' slump is especially evident in Brazil. Last year, Mercedes won in Brazil, and Red Bull missed the mark. This year, Mercedes couldn't even get on the podium. Mercedes chose, after Brazil 2022, to stick to their own concept and not copy Red Bull. What a mistake. Mercedes themselves apparently didn't even understand why they had won, let alone that they could continue with the old concept.